What up, crew? Welcome back to CineChamber. Today we're going to be talking about a legendary franchise of Scream. But this is Scream 7. Is it as good as the original Scream? Or as good as any of the Scream movies? Well, let's talk about it. So, in this movie, basically it starts out with an intro scene of a house. It's like a recreation house of the original house where Sidney Prescott was at the party in the original Scream, and all of her friends were there, and everybody gets attacked and murdered, and you find out who the killers are, and all of that. And a guy who is absolutely obsessed with that event. And then the Stab movies, basically the Scream movies inside of our version of Scream, is he goes there with his girlfriend, and they're just supposed to, it's like an Airbnb type situation. They get to stay there. They get to just hang out in this iconic Scream house, or Stab house, I guess, in the film, because the Scream movies are incredibly meta. The intro scene is actually pretty fun. You kind of revisit nostalgia. A lot of this movie relies on nostalgia, which honestly could have been better, but I feel like the way they did it throughout the movie wasn't as good for me personally to connect with. And so stuff happens. The ghostface killer shows up. Who would have guessed that the ghostface killer shows up in Scream? In the intro, attacks these people. It's just kind of an intro, Fast forward to where Sidney Prescott lives. She's now Sydney Evans, married. She has a daughter, Tatum Evans. She's married to a guy named Mark Evans, and I guess they have a happy little life together. Then, the Ghostface killer reaches out to Sydney. Of course, she's not really shocked by this, because a bunch of people have reached out to her in the past pretending to be Ghostface, and she just thinks it's some troll, from the world trying to mess with her. Well, then she gets, during this phone call, he's like, I'm not messing around. I'm the real Ghostface killer. And then he video calls her, and she turns it on, and she sees, this could be a little bit of a spoiler, Stu Macher, one of the original killers from the original Scream, played by Matthew Lillard. This, again, nostalgia bait, had me really excited, honestly. I was like, Stu's back. He's back. But they bring it in pretty early, so it's got you suspicious, to say the least. Matthew Lillard's character, his acting and performance in this was some of my favorite personally, and they got me with this nostalgia on that one. Well, then he basically says that he's going to attack, her daughter, Sydney's daughter, Tatum. And she's like, you stay away from my daughter, of course. And he's like, well, I'm already here at the school where she's at. And the first real attack of the movie begins, other than the kind of intro one. And honestly, that's the best scene. When the Ghostface killer attacks her friends who's practicing on a theater stage. I don't really want to spoil the scene because it's so good, but that is seriously the lighting, the way it's filmed, the way she's kind of stuck on stage makes that scene really honestly awesome, and my favorite part of the movie, probably, other than that Matthew Lillard's in it. Well, then, after this attack on the high school and some teenagers are dead, not Tatum, of course, plot armor, Gale Weathers shows up from the first Scream movie, and she brings some interns, essentially, side characters. I say it's wannabe Gale, which I believe she's in some of the older Scream movies. Unfortunately, I haven't seen them all. I know. Shame on me. And then her cameraman, which they're like, I think, niece and nephew to Randy, one of the kind of original characters in Scream, which was more nostalgia. Well, they're always like typical movie tropes, typical classic Sidney's life. It's somebody connected to Sidney that's the killer. So they kind of go on an investigation. The side characters do. Not really Gale. Gale and Sidney team up to try to figure it out too, but in their own, way. And so the town's on lockdown. The wannabe Gale and the cameraman get all of Tatum and Tatum's friends together to question them because they're all suspicious. You got the boyfriend, of course. You got the true crime obsessed next door neighbor. You have Tatum's, like, I don't know if they're lifelong friends or just her friends that she's had for a long time, at least I assume. And they want to figure it out. Well, then, it's kind of a cat and mouse game throughout the rest of the movie, where you're trying to figure out who the killer is, because it's what a Scream movie does. And, some of the suspected killers start dying. So you're like, hope it's not that one. Or, sorry, I got a cat in the background scratching. And then, dang, kitties. That's what they think of the Scream movies. They weren't a fan, which is what I'm getting ready to say here. The end of it, when the Ghostface killer gets revealed, honestly, pretty disappointing reveal. Personally, I felt like they could have done things with some other characters that they had introduced previously in the film that would have helped like nostalgia bait you better, but just doesn't work for me the way the reveal happened. Although the movie itself was fun. I'm not going to say it was a bad movie. A lot of people online are saying it's terrible. The ride itself is fun. It's arguably pretty forgettable. Honestly, by some of these pictures that I have, not this one, that's from the intro scene. But a lot of these pictures, there's not a whole lot going on here, at least in pictures. Maybe that's because they're keeping it under wraps pretty good since it's still in the theater. But either way, it's a decent to mid movie. Definitely probably the weakest Scream movie in the franchise, at least of the ones that I've seen, which is a good chunk of them. I think I've seen, of course, the original, which is one of the best movies out there. The second one, a great sequel in and of itself. I believe I've seen the third, but it's been a very long time. I know a lot of people don't like that one as much. And then I believe I've seen Scream 5. I somehow skipped 4 and 6. I'm kind of working my way to get to the rest of the Screams. Well, anyway, I'm going to rate Scream 7 a 7 out of 10. For me, that means it's fun. It was a fun movie. It was a good ride. I didn't hate it. There's some good action scenes. Ish, I guess you say action. I don't know. It's just a Scream movie. It's not the Scream movie we deserve in 2026, but it's the Scream movie I expect in 2026. What do you think? Do you want to see the Scream movie, the new one? Do you think the Scream franchise should just be done? I think maybe at this point, it should just be done. I feel like this movie, with the way they set up these new characters, are trying to set it up in a way to carry the franchise forward. And I don't know if they really should anymore. There's almost nothing that's going to top the iconicness of the original Scream. And at this point, I know the Scream franchise talks about movie tropes, and maybe the tropes that they're talking about should just die for their movies, because it's almost so meta to a point that it doesn't work anymore in a good way. It's just oh yeah, that was an all right movie, which really we shouldn't have for Scream movies. Well, I really appreciate you stopping by the channel today. That was my, hopefully spoiler-free for the most part, thoughts on Scream 7. I would love if you wanted to subscribe to the channel, hang out with me. We're going to review more movies. We're going to talk about top 10 lists. We're going to do some tier lists. I'm going to do some more spoilery deeper reviews of older movies. If you wanted to like this video, if you made it all to the end, just let me know you watched it. It really helps my video. It helps my channel, boost it into the algorithm. I'd really appreciate that. Or just, hey, let me leave a comment, or leave a comment down below for me and just say, I don't know, Scream 7 is mid, if you've made it this far. Or say, what up, dude? Or whatever you want. I'd really appreciate if you just wanted to hang out and discuss some movies with me, including Scream 7, this one. So there's these videos that are going to pop up, and you can click on one. There's probably a playlist or maybe like a video of some kind that is a different one that I did, hopefully, that is recommending to you, and we can hang out together some more. Well, again, I appreciate you, and I hope you have a really good day, and that, the Ghostface killer doesn't attack you, or alternatively, you don't feel like the kind of person that needs to become the Ghostface killer, even if you like the aesthetic. Later on.